This is Rovin RE/MAX. RE/MAX Crossroads First Realty 3. I'm Linda Montgomery, and I'm roving around North Texas, highlighting all the people, places, and things that make this a great place to live and invest in real estate. We're very pleased to have a guest expert with us. Today we have Scott Drescher, who's the Vice President of Business Development with Highlands Residential Mortgage. Scott, it's really nice to have you with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Linda, for having me.
We want to talk a little bit this time about appraisals. What are the constraints that you face in today's market that are maybe a little bit different from what were there a few years ago?
Well, first of all, appraisers now have to follow very strict guidelines, and lenders have to follow guidelines for choosing an appraiser. So they can't just pick any appraiser like in the old days. They have to be on an approved list. And furthermore, they cannot pick a specific appraiser at all. They have to have a list, and they have to be rotated, and they can never just pinpoint, we want that appraiser for that specific property. And furthermore, nobody on the production staff, loan officers, processors, anybody that has any stake in the outcome of the loan can have any part in selecting the appraiser or telling them what value they think they want or need. They can really have just about no contact at all with the appraiser and the appraisal company unless it's simply providing information like another comp that was left out or something like that. It's a lot different than it used to be.
Yes, it sounds like it. What about the contract? Does the appraiser see the contract, the sales price?
That's a good question. So on purchase loans, then yes, absolutely. The appraiser sees the contract, and so that gives them an idea of what value people are expecting. Without the contract, you wouldn't know what the true market value is of the property because you're supposedly going to have a willing buyer and a willing seller who are not somehow influenced, right? But with a refinance, you can't tell them anything at all.
Oh.
Or if you're doing improvements, they're going to know what the improvements are, but they're not going to know what target for value.
Very interesting. Well, how does it happen that an appraiser from a completely different area outside of North Texas would come in to do an appraisal in an area he doesn't know?
Right, and in fact, that's not supposed to happen. Now, what you will find happening sometimes is that if you're doing a property that, say, is in Fate, Texas, somewhere out in East Texas, it's not, I mean, to me, it's East Texas, and your appraiser is from, say, Fort Worth, he's not supposed to get the assignment and he's not supposed to take the assignment. But some of the national companies allow that. We, on the other hand, at Highlands Residential Mortgage, we choose our appraisers that are going to be on the list and the company that is going to be on the list, and they are directed to make sure that the person is familiar with that area before sending him out there. Still, we do loans, for example, in Oklahoma. Sometimes in rural areas, you just have to rely on what you can find. And sometimes it works better than others. But I would say that those problems to which you're referring right now about having somebody from outside the area, those have pretty much gone away over the past 2 or 3 years.
Oh, that's good.
Not as bad as it was in the very beginning when they would just pick anybody willy-nilly and hope that they knew the area. Just keep in mind, a good appraiser should be able to appraise any property anywhere in the country with the MLS data properly.
And
Should be able to.
In theory,
yeah,
I don't disagree with that. Yes, I don't disagree with that. Too interesting. Oh, goodness. Well, with the hot market that we're in right now, how does a lender balance what the public is willing to pay for a property with the risk that they're willing to take in lending money for that house?
Right. Well, the truth is that today a lot of people are willing to pay more than what a property is worth just because they like it, or they need it, or they just want it.
They just want it.
And so there's really not too much of a balance there. If you have a property that appraises for X and they're willing to pay Y, then we're still going to be stuck with X. Now what they will do, an appraiser is supposed to look at market conditions and take some accountability for that. And you have properties that are selling more recently going for higher prices than properties that are a little bit later dated. So in that way, you can balance that a little bit as an appraiser. But I can just tell you that the bottom line is when you have an appreciating market like we have right now, it's a challenge, and buyers have to have extra cash in some cases.
It is a challenge, and if you even try to put yourself a tiny bit in the lender's seat, you understand that it is their money and they just don't know for sure. But if you're the buyer and you want what you want, it is hard. But yes, they probably just need to have a little extra cash and then everything would be okay. Well, what does happen if a property appraises lower than the sales price?
And that's really a good question, because a lot of people don't realize that there are 4 options available to them when a property doesn't appraise at the contract sale price. The first option is the buyer can pay all the difference in cash, as we just mentioned. The second option is the seller can take all the loss and just accept the appraised value as the new sale price. Third option, of course, is where they negotiate and meet somewhere in the middle. And then the fourth option, the one that we don't like, is they can just terminate the contract and move on.
Those aren't easy decisions for either a buyer or a seller, and it's very difficult in the market that we find ourselves. So buyers need to be prepared. They need to be pre-approved with their lender, and they need to be realistic about what the value is on the property. Well, of course, you need to consult your own mortgage lender, and you need to have your own real estate agent representing you when you make these kinds of important decisions. Thank you so much, Scott, for being with us today and the advice that you give us. We appreciate you very much.
And thanks for having me,
You're
Linda.
welcome.